Good afternoon, everyone, and a special welcome to those of you watching on Fox Sports and on lakings.com. Quick overview of the program here today. We will hear from both General Manager Rob Blake and new coach Todd McLellan. We'll then take your questions for both, and after the Q&A, we will break down. We'll have some one-on-one time with each individual. And at the conclusion, lunch is being offered. The two gentlemen at the head table here, General Manager Rob Blake, in his third season in that capacity with the Kings, and the new Kings coach, Todd McLellan. Todd McLellan becomes the 29th coach in club history. He has spent 11 seasons as an NHL coach, 4 in Edmonton, 7 in San Jose. He was in Detroit for 3 seasons as an assistant, won a Stanley Cup in 2008. Coached at the World Championships for Canada and was head coach of Team North America at the 2016 World Cup. He also has coached in the AHL 4 seasons in Houston, coached in the IHL with Cleveland, and coached 6 seasons for Swift Current in the WHL. At this time, I'd like to turn things over to General Manager Rob Blake. Rob.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. We're extremely excited here to welcome Todd to the LA Kings organization to lead us from behind the bench for a number of years to come. What you'll see with Todd is an immediate impact on our structure. And within that structure, there'll be a presence, there'll be credibility, there'll be focus and detail that will have our players extremely well prepared for next season. He'll implement a system and a style that will require a high level of teaching and accountability to get us back to the success that we desire here. He has a unique ability to not only tell you how to do something, but explain why. And I think within that, our players will have a belief in the system to go forward. So for me, it's a great opportunity to work with Todd again. I enjoyed our experiences and relied heavily on those in this decision. And so at this time, I'd like to welcome the new LA Kings head coach, Todd McLellan.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Todd McLellan.
As Rob said earlier, thanks for taking time out of your busy day to come down here. It's a really important and exciting day for myself and my family to become part of the LA community and certainly the Kings family. I want to take this minute to thank Mr. Anschutz, Dan Beckerman, Luc Robitaille, and Rob Blake for allowing me this opportunity. When I was presented the opportunity to discuss this job with that group, it was exciting and it just got better as we went along. And I came for basically 3 reasons. One is the people, and as I mentioned earlier, I think that group is a real strong group. It's a group that I trust, and I think we can build even stronger relationships as we go forward. 2 is the plan. And every organization has a plan, and they try and execute it. This one was very detailed. When we sat down, it's very clear that from ownership on through management group that there's a plan moving forward. There's a plan. There is an expectation of execution when it comes to the plan. And that was very convincing for me as a coach. The third thing is to execute the plan. They've given me the responsibilities, and I've accepted that responsibility to put that plan in place, but also to hold the players accountable and to create the environment that is needed to execute the plan. And that goes from the future Hall of Famers that obviously exist on this team, all the way down to the entry-level players that we'll eventually choose at this upcoming draft. So I'm very excited, and those are the 3 reasons why I think this is a really good fit for me. There's other factors that came into play, the comfort of California, obviously spending all the years in San Jose. I think I understand California. I respect the California fan and the California market. And I think that my family and I are going to really enjoy our time here. We know we've got a lot of work to do. We know that we need to dig in. We know that we're running a marathon. I like to use analogies for the people that have been around me, but we're running a marathon and we're at mile 1. That's where the plan starts. And marathons are tough, and we know we're going to have a lot of hard work ahead of us, but it's something that we're all looking forward to. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm sure Rob would be as well.
Yeah, just raise your hand, please, and Mike Kalinowski has a microphone. We'll get it over to you.
Hi, Todd. Welcome to Los Angeles. I have 2 questions for you, if I may. Drew Doughty said the other day he thinks that this team needs a coach that's going to kind of come in and kick our ass a little bit because maybe we're not as hungry as we used to be. How does that align with your style of coaching?
Well, you know what? I think a strong coach, a good organization listens to its players. And I've heard that. I've heard Tyler Toffoli talk about situations. I've heard Drew. I've had an opportunity to meet with Ansi already this morning. And obviously there's a clear message that they're sending, and I'm prepared to do that. I accepted that responsibility when I agreed to come here. But that has to be a partnership between player and coach, and they have to accept the poking and prodding that a coaching staff is going to do. And I think ultimately we're all responsible for our attitude and our behavior at the rink. It's not just the coaching staff. So if the players are making those comments, some of that's on them as well. And they're winners. They've proven they can win. They just need to elevate their standards a little bit more, and I have to help them do that.
The other thing, Todd, is this team was near the bottom in most, offensive and defensive categories this year. Power play was one of them. From what I've read, you're really good at teaching the power play. Did you get a chance to see this team's power play even recently toward the end of the season and what it's lacking or what you think you can do with
yes,
it?
I did. Obviously, when you're on the sidelines, you're watching a lot of hockey and trying to analyze different situations. And one thing I found is that you watch the game a little bit different when you don't belong to anybody. The power play, specifically coming down the stretch, I think it reflected a lot of the team's attitude. It was important, but it wasn't as intense as it needed to be. We'll move some pieces around. As Rob said, I really like when the players understand why they're doing certain things, not just how, but why they're doing things. And if there's some clarification there, maybe we can get to a point where it's improved. But that goes for the whole game. We're specifically talking about one area. Notoriously, this has been a very tough team to play against. They haven't given up very many goals. They don't give up many inches on the ice, and that got away from the team as well this year. And so it runs from player 1 through 23. It runs the full 200 feet of the ice surface. The standards have to be reset, and we will do that.
Hi, Todd.
Hi, Eileen.
Hi. You said that you like the plan that's in place. What about that plan appealed to you, and what is the plan?
Well, the clarity, first of all. There is no wavering. I've been very, very fortunate to be in a number of really good organizations with great people. All the spots I've been to have that. But this was the most extensive meeting that we went through when Rob sat down, and you could visually see it. There was a timeline put to it. In a cap world, there's dollars and cents that come into play. There's also the entertainment value. We have to remember that as we transition the team, we have to be entertaining. We owe it to the fans, but the clarity of the plan was very good. And obviously the plan is we've got to become a younger team. That doesn't mean the older players are insignificant or will be moved out or shipped out, but eventually the youth have to grasp the steering wheel on this team. I believe that the way the game is played now, the skill and the speed and the pace of the game, we have to look at how we play and make adjustments that way. And, there's that saying about teaching new dogs tricks. I think the old dogs have to learn new tricks as well. So that's going to be the key, blending the old with the new. And I say old very respectfully. I don't mean it age-wise, but experience-wise.
And if you could just identify yourself and your affiliation when you ask a question, we'd appreciate that.
Eileen Elliott, LA Times. What are your thoughts about Ilya Kovalchuk and what you foresee his role being?
Well, he's obviously a very well-decorated player. He's had a tremendous career to this point. And for me, I think it's important before I comment, evaluate, share my thoughts, is that I get to sit with Covey and discuss where he's at in his mind with the organization, with his teammates, and with a new coaching staff. But he does bring some very good tools to the arena each and every day. But like every other player, not just Ilya, on down, as I said earlier, you're either in or you're out. And as we move forward, as I said to Rob, I think anytime you hear the exterior world talk about buying in, there's always a bit of a red flag. So I want to sit with Ilya. I want to make sure that he's in. And then it's my job to create that relationship and to try and help him have success here in our team environment.
Robert Morales, LA Daily News. Rob, how far back does your relationship with Todd go? And can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it goes back to San Jose days. And when I went up to San Jose, Todd was head coach there. So we had a relationship. I got to see him through numerous meetings for a couple of years, through playoff rounds, through good times, through bad times, and get all that interaction that is tough to come through a 3 or 4 hour interview. So I got a firsthand knowledge on that.
Todd, Dennis Bernstein from the Fourth Period. Rob was very transparent with us last week. Difficult times ahead. You're a highly successful coach in this league. How much patience do you have? There will be difficult times in the next 12 to 24 months probably. So is there more that you're going to have to exercise as opposed to your other stops in Edmonton and San Jose?
No, this is, look, I chose to come here. I know what's ahead. And patience is important. Compassion is important as a coach. Those intangibles exist even in a 62-year or 62-win year as they had in Tampa Bay. You have to have those qualities as a coach. I operate based on reality. I think it's really important to know where you are in your time frame as far as a team and the evolution of the team. I understand where this team is, and maybe more so than even the players do. I've accepted the plan, so I can be patient. But when it comes to standards and practice habits, as Tyler Toffoli talked about, the execution or the attempt to execute, that's where the patience can come a little thinner. You can become impatient a little bit quicker. But the wins and losses, I understand where we are. And we have to progress. We have to show that we're going the right direction. We'll take dips like every other team. But the buy-in, the standards, and the progression are all part of being patient.
You mentioned California in opening remarks. Does our fine weather factor in at all with respect to your family decision?
You know what? I just came from Edmonton, and I have a ton of respect for the people in Edmonton. I could have stayed in Edmonton forever. It had nothing to do with the weather. I grew up in Saskatchewan. It's still snowing there. So I have no. Obviously, lifestyle is important. I enjoyed my time in San Jose. I'm looking forward to understanding the LA fan, understanding the area. It's always been a hard place to come and play. It's been an energized arena. It's been a passionate fan base. You could feel it when you're on the opposition's bench, and that's attractive. I don't think people in our industry. I can't speak for everybody, but you don't make decisions based on weather, and this wasn't based on it. Happens to be a great community that is in a great weather pocket and a beautiful spot, but the weather in Edmonton was beautiful too at many times.
Todd, Josh Cooper with The Athletic. When you look on down throughout this organization, from management to analytics, roster, prospects, what's sort of your take as an outsider coming in, and how did Rob kind of sell the vision of all these pieces coming forward? What's sort of your take on everything about this Kings organization, players and management?
I looked at the transition from one year to the other. This team was in the playoffs last year at this time. It didn't go well, but it made it. And the belief at that time was maybe we can get back there. It didn't work that way, and that's when the plan came into play. I look at the core of the team and the type of production that they had this year. There was a fall off in a number of those players. Somewhere between the playoff team and the non-playoff team is reality, and that's what we have to get back to, and then we've got to push to make them better. Analytically, there are areas that the team has fallen off in. I get that, but I think it's more maybe the team, the players, giving themselves permission to have the off year. When it didn't go well early, they just said, you know what, let's get through it. That's unacceptable, and we can't have that anymore. We've got to change. I keep using the word standards. They've got to get back to where they were. I think this team won cups because of attitude and character, not because they were the most skilled team. And it got them to the top of the mountain. Attitude and character can't take them deep into the valley now, and that everybody accepts responsibility for that. Rob, myself, Anse, all the way down. And the players will have to make that decision when they walk in the door that they're going to adjust that a little bit, accept some responsibility for practice habits, for the standards they set for themselves individually and collectively, and I'll push them on that. We have discussed, obviously that's an important part of the organization. I'm less familiar with that group, obviously, more familiar with the NHL people. There are prospects that I've been able to watch play. I went to a number of junior games, Anderson Dolan, those players. I got to see them play in Kelowna this winter once or twice, and it can be dangerous in one viewing to formulate an opinion, but often when a team wins two Stanley Cups, assets are used to win, and you have to recoup them later on, and you pay the price for it. That's where this organization is right now, and there's nobody apologizing for it. It paid off, and now it's hard work, and we all need to dig in.
Hi, Todd. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just because I understand there's probably no one-size-fits-all approach to communicating with players. This is a team that has that older experienced core and then younger players looking to kind of find their way in the league. With the range and age, how does that affect your approach towards coaching and communicating with the entire group?
Well, I have, you know what, I'll share with you first before I answer the question. I have two boys that keep me fairly current. They're 23 and 20, so that helps. And as I'm walking around the house, I begin to understand that maybe some of my personal beliefs and how players should carry themselves have changed. Today's player is different. And when I say today's, it's that 18, 19, 20-year-old coming into the league. So staying current is really important and recognizing that. The word entitlement comes out a lot. And entitlement's usually directed at young players coming into the league. I think entitlement can creep into the older players as well, where they take it for granted. So I've got to blend, or we as a staff, not I, we have to blend the old in with the new, make sure that the new are professional, that they're approaching the game and giving it everything they have so they earn the respect of the older players. But in turn, the older players have to allow the younger players to progress. They can't stall their development. They can't have that glare looking down the bench. That it's going to be a big task. The more we get to accept and believe in that, the better off we'll be, and the quicker it can happen.
Hey, Todd, just sort of piggybacking on that question, can you talk about the experience at the World Cup in 2016 and just having all those 23-year-olds, and as you look forward to what this roster could look like over the next couple of years, how you'll be able to use some of that?
I learned a lot at that tournament. First of all, it was an outstanding experience for me individually, and I think for that team. To put that young group of kids together in a short period of time, turn them loose, and really let them play was very rewarding. It was such exciting hockey. And I can tell you what I learned there, and I believe it's very, very true in today's world, is that there is no fear anymore in young players entering the league. There used to be a pecking order. There used to be, passing of the torch. If they believe they have the talent, they're exposing that talent to their teammates. They're prepared to use it. They'll try and be creative. They want to be creative. There's no suppression anymore. They're not taking a back seat to the older players. And I saw that with that team there. They had the courage to try things and to approach it. I've been lucky enough the last few years, obviously, to coach one of the best players, a couple of the best players in the world, and they are on the young side, and they have no fear. They bring their game every night, and that youthful injection is really important. It brings energy. It can help the older player, and our older players have to understand that a lot of legwork can be done by those young guys if we all get together on it.
Hi, Todd. Curtis, Uppy, LA Times. You've been on the opposite side of this divisional rivalry for some time now. When you were first approached about this, did you kind of have to wrap your head around wearing the Kings logo and being on this side now?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. Yes, you do. Because the rivalry, certainly between San Jose and LA, is fierce. It's been that way for a long time. I was talking to Rob last night, and of all my years in the league, I think most games played against an opponent would be the LA Kings when you take in playoff series, regular season, exhibition games. In some strange way, I feel comfortable about being here because of that. You recognize faces. You can picture the player on the ice. I can't speak for the players, but perhaps that exists for them as well. They know the tendencies. When you play each other that many times, the players meet after the game. That's just how it is now, and they share their thoughts on coaching staffs and opposition. And so I think I have some information that's valuable about the group here, and perhaps they have some information about myself and the staff we build. And I think that's powerful, and it can be used as a stepping stone.
Just to follow up, speaking of the staff, will you bring in an assistant, and if so, do you know who that might be?
We will complete our staff as time goes on. This has happened, well, it hasn't happened quickly. We've took our time in getting to this point, Rob and I and the rest of the staff. The next step for me is personally to get settled in the community, get my family here, and then after that we'll begin to look at completing the staff, talking about what our needs are, and that goes right throughout the whole organization when it comes to coaches. But there's good people here now, and we just have to augment it with perhaps some others.
Going once, going twice. Anybody else? All right, at this time, we're going to have Todd join Alex and Daryl on Fox Sports, and Rob will stand in front of the table, and he'll be available right now for some questions, and when Todd is done with Fox, you can break down one-on-one with him. And a quick reminder that lunch is being served. There are copies of the press release over on the table. And thank you all for coming out.